I'm so excited to see so many people on the call. This is quite amazing. All of you are super well lit up, so I could see everyone's faces. And welcome, just really, really, really welcome. I know it's been a while since you registered for the training, and there's probably been a mixture of emotions. Like, can everyone raise their hand if you had a lot of ups and downs and a mixture of emotions? Some days of excitement, some days of what the heck have I done? Some days of I'm just going to move and change my name and nobody will ever find me again. There's probably been a lot of it. And here you are, and we're going to start. And you know, Eric calls these moments speed bumps, where you experience some really uncomfortable moments. And those uncomfortable moments, the more discomfort there is in them, that's always got to be balanced, right? There's always got to be balance in the world, dark and light, black and white. And so the moments of discomfort, the more uncomfortable they are, well, you can bet that it's going to swing and you're going to get equal moments of excitement. So this will happen throughout the 12 weeks. You'll have some uncomfortable moments. You'll perhaps run into a few blocks, which is why the team is here to help you. And you're going to have some massive breakthroughs, not only as a coach, but as a human being. You are going to be challenged to break through some blocks and barriers that will open things up in all areas of your life. I guarantee this. And it'll all start to make sense and come together once you hop on your first class. And I know that sounds maybe a little intimidating right now, but once you help your first client, there's going to be this, I get it now. I get it. And I know because I've been there. And you know, months down the road, years down the road, when you have clients still reaching out to you saying, thank you, my life is better because I met you, it's going to make everything so incredibly rewarding. So I'm here to co-facilitate with Ariel. Ariel's on the call. You can all see her gorgeous face there. Another A on our team is the gorgeous Angie. She's here. Angela Cook, she can wave. Angela Anderson, we can't see, my screen can't see you here because it's full. You might be on another screen and I don't want to touch anything, so I don't want to ruin anything. But we've got the 3 A's from our WildFit team here. Angela Anderson, Angie, Angela Cook, and Ariel. Ariel is going to be leading your training content. We'll be diving into the first 2 weeks of WildFit, which you guys know is so incredibly powerful. It's the weeks that nothing changes, but everything changes. And I think you get what that means. Nothing changes, but yet everything changes because your mindset starts to shift. It's where you're introduced to the food devil and the food angel, and you start to really understand and connect with your inner dialogue when it comes to your choices around food. So without further ado, I am going to welcome you again and hand it over to Ariel, who's going to dive into the training. And then we will have time for Q&A at the end of the training. Please note that if you have to leave early, put some of your questions into the chat, and you can certainly watch the replay, which will be available in your coach's back office after the call. I'm not sure exactly when, but it'll be within 24 hours for sure. So Ariel, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jackie. Wow, it is so great to see all of your faces here. And I feel like some of you must have already been doing some reading in your manual because you are set up here for the call. I can see your head and shoulders. Most of you have a great background. You're all really well lit. And this is so crucial, right? So before we even dive into the first 2 weeks of content, let's talk about your role as a coach and as a facilitator. So there's 2 things that you need to do if you're leading a live 90-day challenge with coaching. And one is you need to host the live calls for your clients. And the other is that you need to be a really good host in their Facebook group, right? Because some people can't attend the calls live, even though you want to encourage them to do so. And other people, they're very new to Facebook, or they don't like using it because of all of the ads and everything that they're inundated with. So you want to create a community space similar to what you would do in your home. You want it to be a warm environment, a loving environment, a judgment-free environment where everybody feels comfortable. And then you also want to assert yourself as a professional. So part of that is your appearance. You always want to show up looking your best. You want to be really well lit from the front, if at all possible. Making sure that your background isn't too cluttered. So maybe it's an office space. Maybe it's like Ginny's space where she has this really nice green screen and a really natural background. Sometimes if you want to get started just with, you know, a white or plain wall behind you, just to eliminate distractions. And if you want to start practicing that on our calls, setting up your call space, that would be really great. And then when you're asking questions throughout these calls, you can then practice your facilitation skills as well. Now, as Jackie was saying, when we get rolling, it's like, what have I gotten myself into? I don't know if I can be a coach. I don't know if I can talk in front of people, et cetera, et cetera. All of these fears come up. So one really important thing to remind you of is, what is your big why for being here? And ultimately, at the root of it, it's because you want to help people. You want to help people to feel what you felt during the 90-day challenge. You want them to get the results that you did, or even better results. So helping others is the main call, the main reason to be here. So sorry to tell you, but it's not about you. It's not at all about you. It's always about your clients. So anytime that fear comes up, just remind yourself that you are here to be in service, and try to just like kick your ego out the door a little bit. Okay? Can we make a deal? Everybody's in for that? Okay, good. And now I also just want to remind everyone who's watching the recording, like we do in watching Eric's videos, be present with the recording. If I ask you to put your hand up, even if you're not watching it live, because it will further engage your mind. It will make you feel more a part of things. You will absorb the information better. Okay, is that a deal? Everyone watching the recording? Okay, perfect. So as you get into your coaching mindset, when we approach these calls, try to be in that mindset as well. You're here to learn and absorb information. You reach students here, but you're also practicing your leadership skills. So always keep in the back of your mind, what do I have to bring to my clients? What is my niche going to be? How can I best be of service to those that I want to help? Keeping that lens on as we go through this information will help you address questions that you might not otherwise think of if you're too wrapped up in what could go wrong, what's not going to work for me, how I can't do something. And it just helps you look for the opportunities instead. So let's all move into the content from that filter. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like what even is the first 2 weeks? I don't remember it. I feel like I flunked out in the first 2 weeks, or I didn't go deep enough. How am I going to teach others? Have you read through your manual? Your manual is so detailed. It walks you through everything that you could need to know twice. So if you're feeling afraid or overwhelmed, get that manual out and read through it. You will see that everything is there for you step by step, all of the information in setting up your class, in setting up your Facebook group. You have email templates there. Everything is there for you. So if you have a big question and it's like, I don't know where to do this, I don't know where to find this, look in your manual. The answers are there. Okay, guys? So for our first 2 weeks, this is the foundation. There are a few critical things that we need to introduce, but more so than introducing them, it's how you introduce them, and then how you remind clients to use them. For you, as you lead these 90 days, the first 2 weeks can kind of feel redundant for you because you're constantly reminding them, drink your water, use your food dialogue, do your breathing. But these are new habits for these people. So you need to remind them constantly, and you need to make it exciting, and you need to make it rewarding when they do that, because then it's going to be a positive reinforcement and they will want to continue to do it. So you don't sound like a broken record. You sound like someone who's making them excited about making these life changes. So as you're reading through the content in your manual, we start talking about the 90-day challenge on page 80. So anyone who wants to follow along using the manual as we go through, you can do that. But just remember, as you're reading, what are they focusing on this week? And you see the same thing over and over. It's because they need to do that really well in order to do everything else in the challenge. The other thing to really keep in mind is that there is a very specific method to WildFit, right? So the way that Eric lays out the content, he uses his NLP skills, he uses his storytelling ability, he uses aspects of his business courses. So all of his videos are fine-tuned, they're very specific, and they're proven to work. So at the end of the day, showing up for your clients, being supportive, answering their questions, but always reminding them to make time to watch Eric's videos. Each and every video is really the most powerful thing you can do, because there are hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of clients at this point who have opted in for the video only challenge, and they've gotten fantastic results. So that means even without a coach, this is such great content and such a great method. So if you're feeling insecure and like you don't know how to be a leader at this point, just asking them to watch those videos is going to be so powerful. And then, as you are Eric's co-pilot in the beginning of your coaching, how can you structure your calls and your Facebook group so that they are complementary to what Eric is teaching? You don't want to watch Eric's videos and then in your live coaching just reiterate what he said. That's not going to be helpful to your clients because they've already seen it. But maybe if you're watching Eric's video, as you probably should the first time that you're going through the coaching, rewatch Eric's video for that day and then teach your live coaching so it's fresh in your mind what he talked about. Maybe there's a point where he told a story and you have a question about that story, and now you know the answer because you're experienced. So you can share that with your clients. Or when Eric says, drink a lot of water. If you're a small person, drink 8 small glasses. If you're a large person, drink 8 larger glasses. You know that for some people, like type A personalities, that's not going to work for them. They're going to be like, no, I need to know, how big are those 8 glasses? Can I drink too much water? What will happen if I drink too much water? People will want to know these things. So as their coach, you can calm them and support them and tell them, if you're a type A personality, you want to have 8 8-ounce glasses, or starting out with about 2 liters to 2.5 liters of water a day. Yes, you can drink too much water. Most of us max out at about 4 liters, but it's really difficult to do that. So don't be concerned about it. So in that way, you're providing them with an answer. You are supporting them, encouraging them, and reassuring them. Reassurance is so, so important to your clients. Eric tells them again and again to trust the process, and you are a great part in building that trust. So even before you get started in delivering content, setting up your Facebook group so everyone knows where it is. Being a good host, inviting everyone to introduce themselves. Where are they from? Why are they here? Introducing yourself. Who are you? Why are you a coach? How can you help them? What got you into WildFit in the first place? So that they feel like they know you and you're establishing that trust. And then in the first week, building that reassurance. This is when we're going to meet. You should be watching Eric's videos daily so that they don't build up. Maybe giving them a helpful tip in how they can carve out some time to watch the video. Reminding them why it's such a big priority. So really just building your footing even before you start. And then really establishing that WildFit method. So as you know, the content is delivered in bite-sized chunks. Eric uses this great analogy that, you know, we're climbing up the mountain. I've never really climbed a mountain. You know, like I've driven switchback up most of the mountain and then frolicked in the mountain field. Eric has literally climbed mountains, multiple mountains, and many, many times. So he can tell this story really well. We can sort of allude to the analogy, and that is that unless you have climbed a mountain. Has anyone climbed a mountain? Has anyone climbed a mountain with Eric? Bonus points if that's you. So when you use this analogy to explain to people in the first call why it's step by step, it will help them to understand how it's critical to their success. So if we gave you all the information at once, you might become overwhelmed. You might think you can do it all at once and burn out. Or you might just think this is too much for me because of limiting self-beliefs, and you would quit. In all those cases, you might quit. So just focus on the task at hand. What's delivered to you in that call, in that video, in that week. And that way, step by step, they're building habits, they're building confidence, they're building skills. So by the time we get into week 6, 7, and 8, where it's quite challenging, they already know the process and they can focus on that little bit of information and doing that to the best of their ability. We are really all about progress, not perfection. So each week making a bit of progress and not trying to do it perfect like Eric would do it, not having your clients do it perfect like you would do it, but doing it the best that they can, whatever it looks like for them. So doing the best they can with what they have is so important. As a leader, you want them to be able to be inspired by themselves. Being inspired by you is great, but you don't want to be threatening, you don't want to be pushy, you don't want to be judgmental, because all of those things shut them down to building that trust and to being authentic with you and the community that you're building. So always just ask them to show up and look for progress, not perfection, and always do the best they can with what they have. Now, in that WildFit methodology, there's going to be some type A personalities that send you private messages, and they're like, I understand why you don't need to tell the group what's happening. I get it. But, you know, just between us, could you maybe tell me what's coming next? Or I have a cruise and it's coming up in week 5, and it would really help me if I knew what we were going to be doing in week 5. Or whatever might come up. They're going on vacation, they're going to be away from home, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I need to know what's coming. Those are the people who need to know the least what is coming. It's going to be so beneficial if they can focus on the task at hand. And in your first challenge going through, it might be intimidating. You want to please your clients and maybe just be like, well, it's just between the two of us. I could probably give them a couple hints. Don't give them hints. It's not helpful to them. Probably that's a part of their personality that got them into the place that they're in the first place. So really just say, it's part of the methodology that we go week by week. I can't tell you what's coming. That's just part of the process. I'm going to ask you to trust that and do the best you can in this week. And then maybe if it's like, I have to tell, I'm going to a retreat and it's 2 hours out in the wilderness and they prepare my food in advance and I need to know what to do, then say, well, coming up closer to that date, maybe we can talk about it. Because by then they will have learned how it works. They'll have spent some time with Eric and they will be more likely to embrace just taking it step by step. And they'll also be more resourceful at that point and probably take steps to prepare on their own. Okay, so with that, let's talk about your role in the Facebook group versus your role in the live coaching as it pertains to the first 2 weeks, laying out the foundation. So in your Facebook group, Although the information can become redundant if you just label it by subtitles, there are so many details to be found in that, right? So if you're looking through your manual right now, you will see that there's an outline for what to do in terms of it's week 1, day 1. What are the clients focused on? Water. So what should I post? Maybe an article that relates to how important water is to our health. Why being dehydrated makes you fat and tired. Anything like that. So you're constantly giving them information to keep them engaged. We know that Facebook can be overwhelming. You get tons of notifications, you get cat videos that you don't want to see. So it's up to you in the first couple of weeks to establish that this group is important and to make your clients want to tune in to that group very often. You're going to have a couple clients usually who are quite eager and they're going to post quite often, but if they don't receive engagement back from other clients or from you, that's going to wane or slow down. We want it to build up. So in the first 2 weeks, almost be obnoxious with how often that you're posting. Remember that you are seeing all of these posts, but most people are not going to see all of the posts. So talk to them about water. Talk to them about breathing. I recorded a video of myself doing the breathing exercise, and then I put that into the Facebook group on the second day. So I refer to it in my live coaching, and then I put it into the group because then they're excited to go to the group and look for it. You also want to keep in mind that you have different kinds of learners. You have auditory learners, you have visual learners, you have kinesthetic learners. So don't always just be posting intellectual articles. That's great for some learners, but having some short videos where you're active, where you're gesturing, where you're out doing something. Here's me going for a walk in nature. This is where I like to do my breathing exercise. This is why. In that way, someone who's kinesthetic, that's going to stay in their mind, and then they will utilize that tool, and then they will become more effective in their challenge. So always keep that in mind when you're delivering information, and try to put something into the group, at least one thing into the group every day. If you're an A-type personality, probably better to do it all in the very beginning. So even before you start on day 1, you can go in and you can create posts in advance and then schedule those posts. And in that way, you have your outline done. You can follow along with the outline in the manual. And then you don't have to go into the group and post something every day. You can just focus that attention on answering questions and comments that come up to what you've already posted. If you are more of a fly by the seat of your pants person, I welcome you to go through the challenge the first time and try just posting content every single day. By your second challenge, you will probably be more like that A-type personality, or at least trying to be, and posting everything in advance. Even if you don't do the full 90 days in advance, try to plan out your week so that you know where you're going with the content. And then it's also a reminder to you as a new coach to tune into that group very, very often. Okay? So from there, what are we going to be teaching in the first week? The first very crucial thing is, of course, don't change anything about what you're eating. First day, first thing, people will watch Eric's video and they're going to have one of 3 reactions. They're going to be terrified, they're going to be angry, or they're going to be relieved. Usually terrified because they think they're going to gain more weight because they're already out of control in their eating. Angry because they have in their mind what a diet looks like and they've paid money for this and now you're not telling them to diet. Or relieved because they don't want to give up foods, but they thought that you were going to tell them to, so they don't like diets. This is your opportunity to reassure them that WildFit is different than any program they've ever done before. Obviously, you probably should have had that conversation earlier, but you can remind them why this is so important. So touch on diet mentality. You can talk about the diet cycle and why that is so harmful to individuals. If you're not familiar with the diet cycle, that is an article that I wrote for the blog a few months back. You can search in the WildFit blog for that article. I can also post it in the group. Very helpful to talk about this, especially with your scientific-minded clients, because they need to understand and trust why this is different from a diet, a typical diet. And it's also important for opening their mind to what is possible. If they watch Eric's videos or listen to you speak with a filter of, this is my new diet, then they're not going to get as much from it or absorb the information as deeply. So this little trick that we play in day one can often lead to an epiphany of, wow, I'm so stuck in what a diet means. Wow, I already had planned out what I was going to do for the next week without even being told based on my previous diets. Or I didn't realize how attached to certain foods I was until I realized yesterday that I was going to be on a diet, and therefore I had 4 treat meals and then a binge late at night. So it's a big learning moment for your clients. And for you as a coach, it's also an opportunity to say, all right, this is where we get curious. So why did you think that we were going to make all these changes? Why did you believe that this was going to be like a typical diet, even though we told you it wasn't? And why do those thoughts come up? Who taught you that? Who's important to you in the diet sphere? How many diets have you had before? How have those worked? So getting your clients to be curious is so, so important. And then, as Jackie said in the beginning, we're asking them to change nothing, but we're doing a lot, because this is where we introduce the food dialogue. So you'll hear Eric talk in his videos about why the food angel and the food devil are so important, right? Some people don't like the analogy of food angel and food devil. So for that reason, you can tell them, well, just try to create a divisive line between what are your positive thoughts about food and what are your negative thoughts about food? Why do you call certain thoughts negative? Why are certain positive? Who taught you that? Where did that belief come from? How does it serve you? These are the questions that you can ask over and over and over again to basically anything that your client says in the first 2 weeks. Oh, that's interesting. Where did that belief come from? Why do you think it's important to you? How is it helping you? Or how is it hindering you or not helping you? Again, just opening up the client to getting curious about why they make the food decisions that they do. Now, with the food angel and the food devil, Eric shares some stories in his video for your clients. It is so much more helpful in your calls if you also share your dialogue. So look back into those journals that your coach asked you to keep during your first 2 weeks. You have them, right? Some people never made them. So if you didn't make your own records of what your food angel and your food devil said, before your first class, spend some time listening to your food angel and your food devil and write those stories down. People listen to stories. They love stories. They remember stories. That is why Eric is so effective at what he does. It's one thing to sit and tell people what to do or explain to them how to do it. It's another thing to share an experience, have them get into that experience with you, and then be able to retell it or share it later because it was funny, because it was sad, because it was just useful to them and they identified with it. So what are your stories about your food angel and your food devil? If you have some, post them in our Facebook group, because maybe you only have one kind of food dialogue, but these other coaches that you're here with, your tribe, they have many other stories. So perhaps we can give each other permission to share our food dialogue stories, and that way you can build up your toolbox of stories. Sound good? So during your challenge, your coach probably asked you to keep a record of your food dialogue, whether you keep a journal whether you keep an auditory record by recording voice messages to yourself, or maybe you even make videos of yourself going through your food dialogue. Maybe you have another idea that's really great that you want to try with your clients. But this tool is so important for the food dialogue because it takes it out of the client's head and makes it objective. It's very easy to judge ourselves when we think of our food dialogue in our head. It's like, you always think that about food. You're so weak. You know what? I get that from my mother. God, I resent my mother. And then your train of thought goes off. You don't stay focused. Whereas if you sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to talk about my food dialogue from lunch and write down what was important, then you write it down and you feel that you need to keep going because it's a task and you want to complete that task. Does that make sense? Now, your food devil, Eric's pretty clear on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on the food devil and the food angel. If you guys have specific questions, of course, ask them at the end. But again, just to remind you that it's so much better if these characters are really clear in the minds of the client. So what does that food angel look like? Does it resemble anyone that you know? What is their voice like? And the same with the food devil. You really want to personify them so that they become characters in your mind, because then you can separate your thoughts so that, oh, that's an angel thought, or oh, that's a devil thought. And they're apart from your neutral, these are my thoughts kind of thing happening. This is the point where you can encourage your clients to post drawings of their angel and their devil, or search online and see if they find a caricature that is suitable for their angel and their devil, or any other game that you want to play with them to just engage them in playing full out in creating these characters without being self-conscious. This is a really great icebreaker. So the more silly that you can be on this call when you're talking about your dialogue, the more honest and open you can be with your stories, and the more that you engage them through being playful in games, the more you're pulling those clients in to be engaged as the challenge goes on. Because we know the first week of anything, the first 2 weeks, it's always new, it's exciting. We want to build on that excitement to keep people showing up for the following 11 weeks after the first 2 weeks excitement kind of winds down. So the next thing is the breathing exercise. So Eric explains it really well in his video. You as a coach, again, it's a great opportunity to talk to your clients because you know your clients. You know who works in an office. You know who is a stay-at-home mother. You know who is a truck driver and is on the road 18 hours a day. You know that about your clients. And that's a huge benefit to leading the challenge in this small group. So you can offer them examples during your live call about how the breathing exercise is specifically beneficial to them. Anyone who works in an office, it reduces stress. It helps with the 3 p.m. slump. Ways you can do it in privacy. Most people don't like to go into the bathroom and do a deep breathing exercise, but maybe they can go outside and take a break and do that deep breathing exercise. Or how can you make it a useful skill for a mom who feels like she's always busy and doesn't have time for herself? When can she integrate it? How can you remind your clients to do these exercises? So with the water and the breathing specifically, if they're not doing it already, it is a new habit that they need to get into. So maybe they have a checklist on their refrigerator, or maybe they have a reminder that pops up on their phone or from their Google Calendar that tells them that they need to drink water or they need to breathe. So your job as a facilitator is to help your clients get into these habits, offer them tools that make it possible for them to do that, and then also to remind them and encourage them to use them for the first 2 weeks, because then they become a habit. So why we want to do the breathing exercise. Do most people feel pretty clear on that? Yes? I can kind of see little heads nodding, but hands up is a lot more helpful. Good. Okay. What about our water intake? Does that feel pretty clear to people? Yes? Okay, perfect. And remember, if you're unclear about that, you have those articles in your manual, so you can read through them yourself. You can do a little bit more research. How is breathing related to stress? Why is water necessary? But the most important thing is that if you can build in this foundation, the breathing exercise allows them to get present. It allows them to bring their stress down. And it also integrates the use of breath where they might otherwise be using food or even smoking. So most people, as you know, they breathe in the top third of their lungs. And when they're doing that, it creates anxiety. What do a lot of people who join this challenge do to curb anxiety? They eat. So without telling them to change what they're eating, you're asking them to bring in something positive, which is breathing. And then by breathing, they de-stress. They're more common-centered in their emotions and in their thoughts. And they're taking a time out from being busy to just focus on themselves. And in that way, frustration, anxiety, even depression can go down. And then that urge to eat emotionally will also go down without us telling them to change that. Drinking enough water. When we are hydrated, everything changes. Our thoughts are more clear, they're faster, our mood is better, our energy is better. So again, where a person might have reached for coffee or for sugar to improve their state of mind or their mood or their energy, they're now doing that with water. So bringing in more of the positive. Your clients will start to notice this. Usually by the second day, they're in the group and they're commenting, wow, I drank so much water yesterday, which I never do. I had a fantastic sleep aside from my 2 breaks to get up and pee. And I woke up feeling so alert. That's fantastic. So just by changing those 2 things, they're already feeling so much better. And then your clients are also going to say something like, I feel I'm going to gain weight because I'm not changing anything and I'm eating more than I usually would. I don't have any control over what I'm eating and that feels very scary to me. Or I never really eat bread at this point. I've moved away from eating bread, but since Eric told me that I could, now I'm eating a ton of bread. And that's really scary to me. Why would I regress in such a way? If you dial into that and you say, yeah, that is kind of scary. I'm sorry that you're experiencing that. Oh, that's not where we want you to go. That's not going to help them. That's not going to give them any kind of reassurance. That'll panic your clients. So we tell them, 1, that's all a part of the process. And we want you to trust that process. 2, this is not about you being out of control. This is about you being conscious and mindful of the decisions that you're making. So when someone posts something like that or they ask you something like that on the live calls in the first 2 weeks, I ask them, are you keeping a journal of your food dialogue or do you have a record of that? Are you using the tool in your membership site to keep a daily log or a daily journal? Usually they say, well, no. I say, okay, well, start doing that because then you are conscious with your food. Then you can ask, when you're eating, are you distracted? Are you watching TV? Are you in an intense conversation? Are you on your phone? Are you on the go? Usually those people will say yes. So say, okay, well, in practicing your food dialogue, sit, be present with your food, have your food journal right there with you or your audio recorder or however you're going to keep notes, and just be there, be present with your food. And usually those 2 things alone are going to be a game changer for those clients. Another thing that you can do is walk them through those foods, whether it's in the live call or in the Facebook group. So, okay, well, give me a for instance. Maybe they have a fear of chocolate. Maybe it's a fear of bread. Whatever it is, it's a food that they don't feel free from. right? A food that they feel is controlling them. So ask them to choose one food and then just be present with them as they go through the process. Often as a coach, especially a new coach, we feel that we need to give them all the answers. In giving them the answers, it's not their answer. It's not their aha moment. It's just advice from a coach. So try instead to just lead them through, well, what kind of bread is it? Is it just any bread or is it a specific bread? How do you relate to the bread? Do you have memories of that bread? Okay, well, when we talk about that bread in detail, how do you feel right now? So getting them into their feelings and their memories that are associated with that food. Are there times of day when they specifically want that food? Is it specific feelings where they want that food? So walking them through that way can help them find clarity just by learning this process of getting curious. So that brings us to the food timeline. Your food timeline is where we ask, how do you feel before you even have the food? How do you feel with the first bite, second bite, third bite, middle bite, second to last bite, half an hour later, an hour later, that evening, the next day? This is the tool that people most often forget to use because life is busy and distracting, so they don't really get into it. So what we want to do is make them be present with that timeline. So again, keeping a record is so important, because then they can say, well, why did I choose that food? How do I feel emotionally about that food? How do I feel physically before I even have it? And whether it is a positive thing, like when they start having their fruit and their Alka-Geyser, or whether it's a negative thing, like pizza, it's one thing to say, I know that pizza is not good for me and I know that it makes me feel bad. It's another thing to go through a process again and again and again where you see exactly when and how pizza makes you feel bad. It's powerful. And then it creates a really visceral memory, and that memory is going to change the relationship with pizza. So if someone is feeling like their food dialogue is not working for them, they're afraid of the amount of food that they're eating or the junk food that they're eating, remind them of this very powerful tool. And if they say something like, I don't have time to use my food timeline, I'm always eating with people, I can't have a notebook out, that's weird, whatever it is, ask them to spend, because they invested in this 90-day challenge. They invested in learning about their food psychology. So ask them to invest some time in sitting with those foods that they don't have freedom from and going through that food timeline consciously. And when they see the power in that and they start to have some revelations, they'll have a positive reinforcement about it. So they'll want to use it more and more and more. Then we move into, how do we do the enhancement day? Enhancement days are Friday. They're where we talk about what's coming. We talk about the buffer zone. So most of your interaction with your clients, at least what I've found, happens on Friday when they get their enhancements, over the weekend when they're working to implement their enhancements, and then on that Monday, because some people don't watch the Friday video until Monday. So that's when you're busiest. So plan that as you are planning your time for coaching. And then also be available to your clients on the weekend as they're working out the kinks in how they integrate these new enhancements into their schedule. We always want the enhancement to be a positive thing. So try, again, looking at the language, WildFit language in your manual. We always want it to be a positive thing. So we are taking a break from sugar at the end of week 2. We're not taking away sugar. We're not removing it. You can maybe say we're taking a break. We're taking a vacation. Both of those things have positive connotations, right? So we want to make it a good thing and always focusing on more of the good than what is being taken away for a period of time. So the enhancement day that comes on the Friday of week 1, no food is being taken away at that point, but we're bringing in the fruit on an empty stomach and the alkagizer. Fruit on an empty stomach, most clients don't have a problem with fruit. They really enjoy fruit. If you have clients who are diabetics, they may be uncomfortable having fruit. So asking those clients who have diseases, other diagnoses, multiple medications, if you have a background as a doctor, as a nurse, as a nutritionist, as a dietitian, where you feel that you have the credentials to speak specifically about those illnesses, maladies, or medications, maybe you want to do that. But generally, we don't. We say work with the health of your doctor, your medical practitioner, so they can support you through this. And then you can talk to them about having less sweet fruit and starting with less fruit and then increasing as time goes on. Okay? So then we want to talk about the alkagizer, right? So the alkagizer mild, some people already love green smoothies. Most people do. They've had some version of a green smoothie if they're at all involved in the health sphere. For some people, they've never had a green smoothie. This is terrifying. So if they have a negative connotation with healthy food, having a green smoothie makes me feel like a cow is one that I've heard. Or I feel like I'm drinking grass is another that I've heard. Generally, it's not your job to argue with them about that. Don't say, no, it's so great because of this, because of that. That would make you judgmental, right? So instead, it's a great opportunity to say, oh, that's really interesting. Who taught you that? Why do you believe that? Is that helping you? Or how is that serving you? You're flipping it around to become a question that then allows them to get further insight about themselves and their beliefs around food. You can also then give them an option after they try the alkagizer that maybe they want to have it as a salad instead and chew all of the ingredients. We talk about the fact that the alkagizer is a hack, so it's not necessary, but it is a lot faster than chewing everything as a salad. And if there's things that they don't like, they can, of course, substitute them. So it's really just a way to facilitate having more vegetables every single day and having them at the beginning of the day, because that, in a very subtle way, alters what they are eating later in the day. When they have more nutrition, their nutritional hunger is satisfied, their blood sugar hunger is more stable, they're getting that nutritional variety, so their mind is not actively seeking sugary things or larger meals. So these are the subtle ways that the steps that we are taking are shifting what the client is eating without telling them to not eat things. And then finally, just briefly, let's talk about what happens at the end of week 2 when we talk about sugar and taking a break from sugar. This, for many people, is the most difficult thing that they do in the challenge. So be there to help them, offer them suggestions, give them recipes, ask them to go and find recipes. Maybe you make a competition for who can find the yummiest salad dressing recipe that doesn't contain sugar. Make it fun, make it a game, be supportive. And again, you have all of the resources necessary. You have your 65 names of sugar there in your membership portal for your coaching certification. Always draw on what you've learned as a coach. How did you get through week 3? How did you make it easier? Because those are things that you've practiced, so you can be more helpful in helping. Better help your clients facilitate that in their own lives. Make sense? And last but not least, because we're running short on time, I want to touch on the 2-week reset. And we will talk about how to sell the 2-week reset, how to market it, everything else later on in your certification. But just know that this product is so powerful because it gives you the opportunity to offer this foundation to your clients as like a bite-sized introduction to how powerful WildFit is. So many insights, aha moments, clarity, personal growth happens in these first 2 weeks. So the more that you can jam into this first 2 weeks in terms of being available for your clients, being active in your Facebook group, being helpful in your live calls, the better you will be able to convert clients later on into the full 90 days. So if this is a product that you're offering, maybe you want to think about every challenge as being a 14-day reset, and that way you can fully engage everyone and bring your best in the first 2 weeks. Sound good? And again, guys, we're going to move over to questions now. This is a lot of information for a 60-minute call. So that's what your Facebook group is for. If you have more questions, you need more clarity, we have a full week until our next call. So get into your Facebook group, ask those questions. You can type them, you can practice doing videos, but let's make sure that you're fully clear on the first 2 weeks before our next call. Sound good? Thumbs up? All right, perfect. So I don't see any electronic hand raises. So I'll start with questions in the chat, and then we can move over if anyone wants to raise their hand. Karen, if client buys the 2-week reset, do we also coach them? Yes, absolutely. So this is, you can schedule it, and again, Jackie will talk about this later. You can schedule it to be with your 90-day challenge. So some people might opt into the 2-week reset. Some people might from the get-go want to do the full 90 days. But you can put those clients together because then you're always giving insights into what's coming later in the challenge. You're always inferring what will happen in later weeks, how they will learn, what they will get. And in that way, you're drawing clients in so that they want to know what happens in the further 11 weeks. So they'll more want to join the 90-day challenge, if that makes sense. Does anyone have a question about the content? We can maybe do some hand raises like this, if yes.
Ariel, we also have, we've been keeping track of some of the questions that came throughout the call on
Perfect.
a Google Doc as well.
Perfect, thank you. So I will go to Nicole and then Jean. Hey, Nicole.
Oh, just a question about going over the content for the 2-week reset.
Yes. So the 2-week reset is just the first 2 weeks of the challenge. That's all it is. Some things will change, and that's really just the way that you use Eric's marketing techniques, inception marketing, to get the clients excited to continue on with the 90 days. So that might be a little bit of tweaking in your emails, maybe a little bit talking about it more in your live videos and in your content in the last few days. But Jackie will talk a lot more about that later on. You're welcome. Jean, did you have a question? Oh, I can't hear you. I have you unmuted, but I think maybe your speaker isn't working. Okay, I'll go to someone else and come back. Suzanne, I saw you next.
Hi, Ariel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if it's the right question for this call. I didn't get it totally. How will the trial class be? The famous trial call with the first clients.
Your trial class, how that will be?
Yeah.
We talked about that in the orientation call. So potentially watch that replay. And I'm not sure what you mean specifically about that. Can you give me a more specific question?
I didn't understand really how the class would work. Would it be the first class of the 2 weeks challenge or of the 90 days challenge, or is it only a trial class and later the people will tell us if they want to do the challenge or not? Or
Your first class, your trial class, will be the full 90 days. After you complete your trial class of the 90 days, then when you're a certified coach, you can start offering the 2-week reset.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Kelly, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. I have actually a couple of questions, but I did do the challenge, or I'm still in it, the 90 days through Mindvalley. So I see that the portal I have from WildFit is different than the portal from Mindvalley, of course. But I was just wondering, the videos that are there from Eric, are those exactly the same? So my clients would see the same videos as I see on Mindvalley, or are they different?
The way that Mindvalley, because they have a different method than WildFit, they like to cut everything up into bite-sized chunks every single day. So some of the content is modified in the Mindvalley Quest. So as you are going to be coaching through the membership portal, I would encourage you to just get familiar with those videos, but I believe all of Eric's videos are the same. They're all pre-recorded, and that's what is put into the Quest as well. The thing that's different is that the Quest has different questions that are posed, and as you know, the app looks different. So as a coach, you have the opportunity to create your own formula for how you talk about water, for example, or the breathing exercise. So all of that you will be doing independently in your Facebook group, but we do have the suggestions offered in the manual for how you can lay that out.
Yeah, I would like to see the video of Eric, then the same video as my clients would have, so I could dive into more of the content he's offering, so that I'm not talking about questions that are addressed in Mindvalley Quest and not in the WildFit portal. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
So in your membership portal for the WildFit members page, I believe that you will have 3 buttons. So you will have the 90-day challenge button, you will have the 14-day reset button, and you will have your coaching certification button. So Angie is going to confirm that after the call, but you should be able to go into the 90-day challenge and watch any of those videos. And
Okay.
then later, when you're certified, you'll have the button for the 14-day reset.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now it's empty. My 90-day challenge in the WildFit, but otherwise I'll send an email.
Okay. Perfect.
Quick question: is there the subtitles, the German subtitles, are they already available in February?
That would be a question for Angie. Oh, Angie's microphone isn't working. I don't believe they are now, but we can get you an update for when they are available.
Okay. Yes.
Perfect. Anyone else have a question who is live on camera? Joanna, did you say you had a question? Hi.
Okay, hi. Just the question is on the food dialogue. Thank you so much for this, Ariel. It was very helpful. Some people like me in the first challenge, I didn't have this conversation. People from Latin America, from Colombia, they always tell us that if you hear voices in your head, you are crazy. So that is also something else to put in, because for the first 2 weeks of the dialogue, I was like freaking out, literally. I was so embarrassed to even ask my coach what was the deal, because everybody was talking about this and I was like, I don't hear anything. And then I started thinking, what is wrong with me that everybody else is doing this and I cannot. So the question will be that will be something to address as a coach as well, right?
Yes, I'm like already thinking what a fantastic opportunity for you to take clients on from Colombia, work within this cultural paradigm that you have, and absolutely blow their minds with what is possible around understanding food. Do you see that? That would be so amazing. So what I would do is, you've identified that that might be a limiting factor for you this week, or a place where you feel resistance. So then you can spend this week really diving into your food dialogue. And that's what I'm in the group for, is to help you. So you can say, Ariel, I'm looking at chocolate. It's still dead silence. What do I do? So then maybe you look at the questions that I posed today, getting curious, answering those questions for yourself. And then also seeing like, wow, this is a great coaching moment because I identified how difficult it was. Here's how I worked around it. So yeah, I think that's a really great opportunity. That's the way I see it. Let me know if I can help you in the Facebook group. All right, guys, we're at time, but I want to just take one more question because I did see some hands waving. Anyone else have something they would really love to share live? No? Okay, well, perfect. We can end there then. I want to thank you all so much for showing up here live for this call. Jackie, for being our wonderful, beautiful host.
Era, we have a couple questions that are on a document that
Yes.
we'll answer right away. We do want to respect everyone's time. So if you do have additional questions right now, the best thing would be to post them in the chat so that we can copy and paste those into a document and always answer them later into the Facebook group. That also allows us to keep a documentation of the questions, which is super, super helpful for us because it allows us to answer it for everybody, especially those who might not have been on this call live. So as I said, we are at time, we do want to respect that. So I'll answer a couple of the questions that are on the document. And I just want to say, according to our past records, this call, for a first call of a coach training session, you guys have blown the stats away of how many people showed up live. Like it's amazing. Like there's almost like 90% attendance rate, which is phenomenal because you are all in different time zones. You're from all over the world. And what this shows me is that there's real commitment. There is some commitment here. And if you start to build your commitment muscle like this by showing up on the live calls as much as you can, because you'll get so much more out of it, you're also going to boost your confidence. And you're going to see that with your clients as a coach. When they commit to something with WildFit, their confidence boosts. So that's going to let them commit to something else in life. So how many of you on this call today may have thought, I don't want to be on this live call. I'm too busy. I don't want to be on the live call, but you did it anyway and you showed up. You've just like boosted your confidence level. So I suggest when you get off this call, go and do something else that you may have been putting off, whether it's organizing your junk drawer or your linen closet or that thing, right? That's just kind of lingering, and just go and follow through and do it. And the more you do that, your life starts to change. So thank you for all of you who showed up. For those who couldn't be here live and that are watching the replay, we love you guys too, equally as everyone. It's just fantastic to see such an amazing show up rate, which I think is really cool. I'm going to continue to post because I have a lot of fun doing the Facebook Lives into the group. And I'll continue doing some Facebook Lives on various topics like leadership, like how to build your commitment muscle and building confidence, and just little things that are going to really help you as a coach. So we'll answer a couple of questions that are really quick to answer here. And again, some of them will be answered in the Facebook group. In particular, some of these questions around languages and translation, which is a partnership that we're doing with Mind Valley, which you can imagine has a lot of moving parts. And we want to make sure when we answer that, we give you the clearest answer possible for every language that it will be translated in. So for some of these quick questions, how do we present options for video only versus the coach training, you as a coach will have the option to just direct people to video only. If they do not want to do a coach challenge, if they just want to watch the videos and do it on their own, very helpful for people who are self-starters. Personally, my personality type, that doesn't work for me. I need the guidance, and many people do. You're able to just direct them to join the video only program. They do it completely on their own, and you will earn a commission from that. So great way to earn income. If you're not able to coach a group, you can still drive people to the video only option. They'll get all the daily emails, they'll get all the videos from Eric. The only difference is they won't have you as a coach to guide them. In terms of the Mind Valley and the WildFit headquarters, what you see, and Angie will answer this in the Facebook group, but when you can access the 90-day challenge, which you will have in some of your practice groups in your back office, your coach's back office, whatever you see in your back office platform is exactly what your clients will see. So that's why we encourage you to get familiar with that, because that's what they'll see. The Mind Valley Quest is specifically for Mind Valley people. And what you see in our back end in the coach's back office is what your clients will see. Pilar, I don't know if I'm saying that name properly. I'm French, so I want to say Pilar. It could be Pillar. I'm not sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'd like to get that accurate because I think it's important to say people's names properly. How is it that clients are accompanied by us through the 12 weeks? I'm not sure if you went through the Mind Valley challenge or a coach challenge, but did you go through Mind Valley? Okay, I could see you nodding here. They will be, and you'll learn this in another call, exactly how to schedule that 90 days. So it'll be all set up for you. You'll have specific days that your clients will show up on Zoom calls just like this, and you will guide them through the calls just like this. They will get all the emails. It's all laid out for you. You just really will need to show up. So the calls will be scheduled, and in one of the training sessions, we'll show you how to set that up exactly. So there will be no confusion on that. How much do we sell the 2-week reset? The 14-day reset. We'll call it a 14-day reset because it's 90 days, and we want to use the language of 14 days. Hi, Sharon, by the way. We suggest around $27. Under $30 is a great price point, because anyone who might have that barrier of making a larger commitment on the investment, under $30 is a great way to get an idea as to what WildFit is about. Again, there's going to be a training session on how to sell people into that. But that's just to answer your question on that right away, Sharon. Those are the only questions that I have posted in that. So I can see that, I mean, we can go on answering questions forever, and I'm just concerned on time. In terms of your setup with the coach number, et cetera, I want everyone to know we are going to document all of your questions, and then maybe we'll just record a Facebook Live or a Loom video and post it into the Facebook group with answers to all of these questions. Because there's more questions that just keep coming in, and I just want to make sure we can answer that. So is everyone okay with that? If we take note, document all your questions, and then we'll respond later in the Facebook group? Sound good? Awesome. And cheers for people drinking their alkalizers on the call too. It's always fun to see that. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, Ariel, for leading such an incredible session. This is new to me, to be on these training calls, and it's super inspiring for me. And there's all these ideas coming up on how we can make everything even stronger, and in result, making you guys all stronger coaches. But I'm just going to leave you guys with the this thought of when Ariel mentioned your own dialogue. So you are going to be asking your clients to really consider their dialogue in the first 14 days. Keep considering your own dialogue, like even through this training, because, you know, in those speed bump moments when things get challenging, you might be tempted to reach for some of those comfort foods. So you're still in the process of learning. And I posted something recently, I believe it was based on a post by Gina. Your clients don't want you to be perfect. They don't want you to be perfect. So if you're still struggling with food dialogue, even as a coach, share that with them. It makes you real. It makes you a real person. It makes you someone they can connect with. They don't expect you to be perfect. They just want you to be real. So own that story. Keep practicing your food dialogue. Keep a journal throughout your experience in the coaching certification, because it's going to help you as a coach as well. So thank all of you for showing up, for being here, for staying through the whole hour and a little bit. We'll be back here at the same time next week, and we'll get on to the training. But stay posted or stay tuned to the Facebook group for the answers to your questions and some extra bonus content as well. So I believe, can we unmute everyone so you can all say like goodbye? It's gonna be really loud, so.
Bye, everybody.